Hello everyone, this is Ardent Vital Gamer. Let's review SpongeBob Squarepants Battle of the Bikini Bottom for the PlayStation 2. Before we go to that pineapple under the sea, don't forget to click the subscribe button and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the Ardent Vital Gamer videos. Now then, to the Bikini Bottom! SpongeBob SquarePants Battle of the Bikini Bottom was developed in 2003 by the developer Heavy Ironclad. The genre that would best describe this Nickelodeon game is a mixture of an action-adventure and a platformer. The premise in this game is that the evil Plankton is devising a new plan to steal the Krabby Patty formula. That plan is what I call Plan R. R stands for robots. And no, I'm not specifically saying this plan is to use his robot wife Karen. I'm saying he's gonna create robots to help him steal the Krabby Patty secret formula. To be efficient and save time on having to create all these robots, Plankton used this machine to clone the robots he made so that he can multiply the numbers in the less amount of time. However, there was a catch. Plankton forgot to switch the button called Obey on, so as a result, these robots do not obey Plankton and they kick him out of his chum bucket before cloning themselves further and going wreaking havoc all over Bikini Bottom. Meanwhile, at the same time, at the pineapple house of SpongeBob SquarePants, SpongeBob and Patrick are playing with toy robots. However, they are bored of these toy robots and that they want to play with some real robots instead. So they use Patrick's magical wishing shell to wish that they can have real robots to play with. Coincidentally, you pretty much say this is one of those times you say, be careful what you wish for. That's what happens the next morning is that SpongeBob wakes up to real robots trashing his pineapple. I'm actually amazed that they didn't decide to make pineapple juice or pineapple oil out of his house. Of course, after SpongeBob leaves his house, he runs into Plankton, who in this case is pretending to be sad that basically these mean robots came out of nowhere, beat up Plankton, and threw him out of his own home, the chum bucket. In which case, because SpongeBob is a gullible, happy little yellow sponge, he offers to help get Plankton back in the chum bucket, even though he's not really aware this whole mess is Plankton's fault. It's kind of ironic as SpongeBob's been interacting with Plankton for so many seasons, Plankton takes advantage of him so many times, and yet SpongeBob still does not realize Plankton is just using him. But after this discussion, the game and adventure truly begins. In this game, you get to play as 3 different characters as you progress through the adventure. Do note, in all the worlds you go, SpongeBob will always be the main default character you have. At the same time, there'll be an alternate depending on certain worlds. So you can say you would never get to play as all 3 characters within one specific world. The first character, obviously, is SpongeBob SquarePants, our main protagonist. SpongeBob's playstyle consists of utilizing one of SpongeBob's favorite hobbies in the world, bubble blowing. You see, a majority of SpongeBob's attacks revolves around using bubbles. When you first start out, you only have one bubble type ability, but over time, as you progress in the game, you start earning new abilities to use. The first ability SpongeBob has is called the Bubble Bash ability, which is activated when you press the triangle button. What happens in this when you use this ability is that SpongeBob will make a bubble Viking helmet above his head, and he'll do a quick bounce upwards and hits anything that's above him. This is used effectively against certain robots that the only way to take them out is to hit them from underneath, or to be more precise, from down under. And also this is effective against certain floating platforms that are above SpongeBob that he cannot hit with just a normal attack. The second bubble-tastic ability SpongeBob has is called the Bubble Bow. This ability is done when SpongeBob is on plain ground and he presses the circle button, which allows SpongeBob to start winding up a bubble bowling ball. When he releases it, he tosses it forward as a projectile. This ability can be effective to either hit certain buttons that are far away, but you require SpongeBob to stand in a certain spot to open the path. It can be also used as a form of a range attack to also hit the enemy from afar. The third ability SpongeBob has is called the Bubble Bounce. This ability is also utilized by pressing the circle button, but here's the catch. You have to jump first, then press the circle button, which as a result, SpongeBob will quickly blow up 2 massive feet bubbles below him, and he'll crash down and smash into anything below. So you can say this is SpongeBob's version of a ground pound. This is effective against certain enemies that have basically attacks that requires you to hit them from above, so you don't end up injuring yourself by accident. The last special bubble ability of SpongeBob is I call the Bubble Blimp. This is pretty much SpongeBob waves his wand above his head and quickly makes a blimp that operates like a missile, which then gives you the ability to steer it for a couple seconds as you fly towards your target, and it explodes on impact or you run out of time. Think of it sort of like a remote control missile that SpongeBob can control to engage enemies from afar. But to say though, this special ability is unique in the way that while it lets you hit enemies from afar, however, if an enemy projectile hits SpongeBob while he's controlling the blimp in midair, it will stun SpongeBob and take some damage, and the blimp explodes. Outside of these bubble abilities, SpongeBob has 2 other unique abilities that are also utilized in the game. The first one is, when you see a yellow SpongeBob ball icon out in the streets or throughout the lands as you travel, if SpongeBob touches it, SpongeBob will curl himself into a ball, so you can say SpongeBob is in ball mode, and in this form you could utilize it to move through tighter passages or bounce around and play, you can say, a low-grade version of Monkey Ball. Do note though, when SpongeBob is in ball form, he cannot attack until he reverts back to normal. The other ability is, when SpongeBob is in certain areas that let you do sliding methods, SpongeBob's style of sliding is he slides with his tongue. Yes, he stick his tongue out and use it as a base, and he surf and slide through certain levels using his tongue. I'm amazed his tongue doesn't get tons of splinters from tongue sliding. The next playable character I want to cover is SpongeBob's best friend, Patrick Starr. To those of you who grew up watching SpongeBob Squarepants, you would recall Patrick as the guy who lives 2 houses to the right of SpongeBob under a rock. In this game, Patrick's role is more of like the form of a strongman that assists SpongeBob in his adventure, and he fights by using his belly, where he likes to thrust outward to hit people. While this works on some of the smaller and weaker robots, it doesn't work on some of the tougher enemies overall, so Patrick does have a couple of unique abilities that comes with him. The first one is the Starr flop, which is what I would call as, this is a technique where when Patrick does a double jump, if he presses the circle button, just like how SpongeBob uses his feet to crash down, in this case, Patrick uses his belly and smashes down on the enemies below him. If you're lucky, if some enemies get stunned, Patrick can then pick them up and use them as a projectile to throw them at other robots to take them out. Of course, outside of throwing enemies, Patrick can also utilize his own unique weapon, watermelons. In this game, Patrick can find watermelon patches throughout the land, and he can pick up a watermelon and lob them at the enemy to defeat them. I think that the developers of this game use watermelon as Patrick's weapon because in that episode where Squidward pranked SpongeBob and Patrick and pretended to be a ghost, they were feeding Ghost Squidward a variety of fruits, and one of the fruits was Patrick used a watermelon to shove down Squidward's throat. Hence, I think they were trying to use the watermelon weapon as a reference to that episode. Outside of this, in some levels, when you need to get across the gooey waters that could kill you, there are opportunities to find blocks of ice which Patrick could pick up to throw in the water to temporarily freeze the water so that you could traverse across. But after the water thaws back out, then you're stuck unless you can find a block of ice to get back. And of course, in some levels where you have sliding abilities, Patrick's style of sliding is with his butt. He's a butt slider. I'm amazed, however, is that he managed to steer with his butt without going off the edge of a cliff. The last character you get to play as in this game is SpongeBob's karate buddy / landcrawler friend, Sandy Cheeks, the squirrel. Sandy is also a resident of the Bikini Bottom. She lives in a tree dome with air because she comes from the land above. Sandy's abilities in this game are a reference to where she's from and her personality, as her abilities pertain to karate and being a cowgirl because she's from Texas. A majority of Sandy's tricks and fighting techniques revolves around her lasso as the main form of combat. Unlike SpongeBob and Patrick, Sandy does not have a ground pound type of ability to smash downward. That's one of her limitations, but at the same time, she does have an ability where she can do a jump attack, which Patrick does not have. Another unique ability that Sandy has with her lasso is that it helps her glide like a helicopter. The way Sandy does that is by when she jumps, she can swing her lasso around to temporarily have some gliding motion to help her get to some tough to reach location where it requires a long distance jump. But overall, it will only work for a few seconds. You could tell when Sandy's lasso starts slowly reducing rotation, that's when you know she's about to fall. So as you play in the levels, you might see an icon that looks like the shape of Texas. These are the indicator icons that let Sandy use her lasso to swing across caverns and ravines because she tossed her lasso to that Texas icon and then she used it to swing back and forth. Use that to help you extend across long distances. Another thing of interest to note is that Sandy's method of sliding is on top of a clamshell. Like, if you've seen that episode of SpongeBob Squarepants where Sandy and SpongeBob went racing down Sand Mountain, they were racing on top of clamshells. That's Sandy's method of surfing. The next thing I want to cover is items of interest within the worlds as you go exploring. The first item is underwear. Yes, this may sound a little weird, but yes, underwear is a very important item as in this game, underwear symbolizes life and healing. To be more precise, SpongeBob Squarepants underwear. In this game, you will start with a couple of hit points where if an enemy hits you, you lose 1 hit point, to be precise, 1 underwear. So if you run out of underwear, your character will be incapacitated and you will respawn at the nearest checkpoint that you have passed. If you collect underwear in the field to heal you, it will heal you for 1 hit point / 1 underwear. Well, it kind of makes sense if you watch some of the episodes how SpongeBob and Patrick are so close and good friends that they end up sharing underwear with each other. Personally, I think it's kind of weird that Sandy's also in on it, and she's also wearing SpongeBob's underwear, which overall is just really weird. And if you're really lucky in the field, you may be able to find the golden underwear. What makes this underwear unique is that it increases your hit points by a maximum of a +1, so you can say you get more hit points overall. The next item I want to cover in this game is the currency that is utilized. Surprisingly, it's not actual money. It's called shiny objects. The shiny objects you acquire in this game could be found within boxes, destroying enemies, and of course, by randomly walking around the land. You generally use shiny objects to pay clams to get access to new locations, and also to give some to Mr. Krabs. Apparently, even though they're just random shiny objects, Mr. Krabs likes them just like how he likes his money. And after you pay him, he will also reward you with golden spatulas. In this game, golden spatulas symbolizes keys in order to unlock new locations and realms. They are coveted and very valuable, just like how in that episode of SpongeBob where Plankton gifted SpongeBob with a golden spatula as a sign of friendship. Hence, in the SpongeBob world, golden spatulas are highly prized among chefs. In this game, you can attain golden spatulas by completing objectives within a world. I mentioned also paying Mr. Krabs for some golden spatulas as well. And as you get enough spatulas, the door will unlock and you get to go and explore new worlds and have the opportunity to collect more golden spatulas. The next item of interest are Tikis. In this game, Tikis are pretty much considered the crates that you can break. These Tikis come in multiple different forms. The most basic one is the brown wooden Tiki crate, which is you just hit it, it breaks, you get shiny object. It's the most straightforward type of Tiki. The second Tiki is the red explosive Tiki. This Tiki is a bit more dangerous as in fact that if you hit it normally, it goes kaboom, and if you're next to it, it will hurt. Also for this Tiki, if you were to bump into it, it will show some storm clouds happening above its head. Look like a storm brewing. It tells you to get away quickly before it blows up. After a few seconds, kaboom. The third kind of Tiki is called the Shh Tiki. This Tiki has blue ears and has a giant ear-shaped icon on top of its Tiki, in which if you walk up to it at a normal brisk pace, it will get scared and hide. Of the three characters, SpongeBob is the only one that could tiptoe up to the Tiki and smash them. But after you smash them, it's a straightforward aspect. You get shiny objects. The next type of Tiki are the stone Tikis. These Tikis look like Easter Island totem heads, and they're indestructible to normal attacks. The only way to break these stone Tiki is to either use SpongeBob's blimp missile device to blast and blow up the Tiki, or bump into a thunder Tiki, or one of those, to be more precise, one of those red Tikis, and have it explode if it's next to a stone Tiki. Otherwise, you're out of options. The last kind of Tiki are the floating Tikis with a circular bottom. These types of Tikis don't touch the ground. They're usually hovering in the air or floating around the air, and the only way to hit them is to either use SpongeBob's ability from below and hit upwards, his triangle ability, or have your characters jump and attack in mid-air to smash those Tikis. In which case, like the other kind of Tikis, you get shiny objects if you break them. The last item of interest to pay attention to is Patrick Starr's socks. Yes, I'm talking about socks, which is kind of ironic since Patrick is never seen wearing socks during the episode, but apparently what happened was the robots during their mayhem stole all Patrick's socks for some weird reason, and now Patrick needs his socks back. If you bring back the socks back to Patrick, he will reward SpongeBob with some golden spatulas. Next, I want to discuss the type of worlds that you could go in during your adventure to stop the robots. I Won't be covering all of them, but I would share a couple of notable ones I find interesting or that I like. The first location of interest is the Goo Lagoon. In the SpongeBob episodes, Lagoon is a place for people to go and enjoy their summer days and have a swim and play volleyball. Just think of it like going to the beach. The main items of interest at the Goo Lagoon is the Carnival part. This Carnival part, you get to play in a bunch of fun little mini games to earn socks and get shiny objects and even a golden spatula too. I think the idea behind this Carnival part was that they base it off of the real life Pacific Park located in Santa Monica Pier in California. Some fun things you could do in the mini carnival area of the Goo Lagoon includes playing Kota Tiki and bubble skee ball, along with some good old-fashioned bungee fish hooking. It's very fun to play indeed. It makes the game a little lighthearted from the reality of fighting in a war against robots. The next location of interest I want to share is the Sand Mountain level. In the SpongeBob world, Sand Mountain is pretty much like a ski resort for Bikini Bottomers to go skiing or enjoying their winter holidays with sand. Some of the fun things you can do when you're in this level is that you can get SpongeBob and Sandy to go sand sliding down the mountains and try to compete the time records to get some golden spatulas. And it's very fun while doing it. You get to smash robots along the way. Another location of interest I like to talk about is Jellyfish Fields. SpongeBob SquarePants, Jellyfish Fields is a location where SpongeBob likes to spend his leisure time frolicking in the meadows to catch jellyfish just for fun, just like how when kids were younger they like to catch butterflies. The only difference here is those jellyfish, they get angry, they'll sting you heavily, and it hurts a lot. Don't worry, if the jellyfish sting you, you can always just swat them flying. In reality though, I don't think SpongeBob would do that, but in this case, since you're controlling him, you could do whatever you want. This is also the first level that you have unlocked in the game at the same time. As you progress in some of these worlds, you may even encounter enemy bosses to fight who are trying to hinder your path, such as in the Jellyfish Fields, you have to fight the King Jellyfish, and even the Flying Dutchman in the shipyard. But then most of these bosses are pretty easy to beat because they all follow a specific set of pattern that you could always memorize to defeat them easily. And the best part is, it only takes a couple hits to beat each of them. While bashing robots and exploring worlds, you still also get to catch up with some of the famous characters from the show, just like SpongeBob's pet snail Gary, Larry the Lobster, Mrs. Puff, good old Squidward Tentacles, Mermaid Man, and Barnacle Boy. Some of them even have quests for you in which they'll give you golden spatulas as well, because we need to get as many golden spatulas as we can to unlock new worlds to explore and play in. Of course, standing in our way, there's many kinds of different enemy robots you will encounter, but let me highlight a couple of interesting ones that are, I think in my opinion, a little cool and unique. Robot enemy I want to talk about is called the G-Love. These enemies look like floating UFOs on the ground, except they have 5 glove hands around them, which they use a circular attack to hit our characters. The enemy is basically a play on idea in its names, like G-Love, glove. The enemy is carrying and wearing gloves. The only way to be able to disable these enemies is you either manage to hit them from above or use Sandy Squirrel's lasso ability. If you try to charge up and straight up attack them, it's going to end up horribly for you as you will get gloved. The second enemy I want to talk about is called the Hammer. Enemies walk around wielding a giant hammer that's actually made out of ham, hence the play on term hammer. These enemies are actually pretty easy to beat, as you just need to dodge their hammer swing and then you can just swat them once and they go flying. If you are unlucky and can't dodge it, then you'll get flattened and enjoy a slice of ham in your face. Next robot enemy I want to talk about is called Sleepy Time. Massive hulking robots, you can identify them as that when they are standing still. They have a yellow searchlight around them that they move to help detect enemies. They get angry, the light will turn red, and they're going to be blasting you with a laser until you get out of their sight. You can say the joke behind this robot is that light that surrounds them is their personal space to sleep. So don't go into their personal space, and you should have no problem. In short, the robots are claustrophobic. These robots are a little bit more difficult to fight, as in their range is so big for the light that if you lob projectiles at them and it goes through the light, they will be able to dispel it. So the trick here is you have to find a way to sneak into their blind spot and take them out. However, if you're afraid of fighting these robots and you're playing a SpongeBob Squarepants, then you could tiptoe and sneak across the location and hopefully don't wake up the robots. Unfortunately, since Sandy and Patrick cannot sneak, the enemies will see them, so in that case you're better off just fighting them or finding a way to take them out head on. The last robot enemy I want to discuss is called Slick. This robot you can identify by the fact that it carries a bubble wand in one hand and also has an oil can that it utilizes, which creates a black shield that protects the robot. This robot kind of challenging and unique is that not only does it lob oil at you, if the oil touches the ground, it'll make that area slippery and your characters walk on it. They'll slip and slide because of the slickly oil. But you manage to get hit by it, it still hurts a lot. And what makes these guys even more challenging is that they have a bubble shield about them made out of oil, in which you have to eliminate the shield first before you could take the enemy head on and destroy them. Unless you're playing as Sandy Squirrel, then Sandy could use a lasso ability and take the enemy out in one hit and disregard the shield. So you could say Sandy has shield penetration powers. Next, I'll cover the interface in the game, which is pretty good in my opinion and simplistic, which is catered towards younger audiences. On the top left, you'll see how many underwears SpongeBob will have left before he gets incapacitated. The top center shows how many golden spatulas SpongeBob has. The top right is the number of shiny objects that SpongeBob is currently carrying. The bottom right tells you how many of Patrick's socks you currently have. And the bottom left will show how many items are left in a specific objective if you're working in that area, such as helping Mrs. Puff find boating steering wheels or helping her find lost campers in the kelp forest. It depends. It doesn't always show something necessarily unless there's a specific objective for it. Also, I like some of the hidden Easter eggs they have in this game that references the TV show, such as if you go into Sandy's tree dome as SpongeBob, SpongeBob will have a dehydrated look on his face, look like he's about to die, just like how in that episode of SpongeBob SquarePants when SpongeBob first visits Sandy in the tree dome and does not realize he needs water to survive. The second cool Easter egg is based on the rock bottom level in the game, where every time SpongeBob tries to go to the vending machine to get food, the rock bottom bus is always zipping by the bus stop and leaving him. Just like how in that episode, SpongeBob is trying to get out of rock bottom to go back to Bikini Bottom, but he keeps missing the bus in a goofy fashion, and the joke is every time he goes to the vending machine, the bus always ditch him. It's some cool Easter eggs that I find humorous if you ever watched the TV show. Another thing that makes this game cool is that most of the characters are actually voice acted by the same voice actors on the TV show. The main ones you'll recognize is SpongeBob SquarePants' voice actor is Tom Kenny. Patrick Starr's voice actor is Bill Fagabucky. Sandy Squirrel's voice actress is Carolyn Lawrence, same one in the TV show. We even have Mr. Lawrence, who's known for playing Plankton as well. Raga Bumpass was Squidward Tentacle's voice actor. The only one I think that's missing and not the same with the TV show is for Eugene Krabs' voice actor. But aside that, the majority of them are the same one as on the TV show, which is kind of cool. How often you get the TV show's voice actors also voice acting their characters in the video game. But overall, my opinion on this game, fun to play regardless of your age. It has that unique Nickelodeon charm, while at the same time, it's still fun and engaging for adults as well. I enjoy some of the mechanics in the game, like the underwear bungee jumping, the skee ball area, heck, even the moving wall bounce. It's like you're playing SpongeBob Ninja Warrior style when you bounce across the walls. And overall, the game is fun, great to play, and brings some laugh and corniness as well to the charm of SpongeBob SquarePants. The only thing I could think of that could have made this game even more fun was letting you play as Squidward tentacles, because I could imagine Squidward's clarinet could be a powerful weapon, as he can just play his music so horribly that the robots will explode. It would be fun if you had that option in the game. If you manage to find a copy of this game, I do recommend acquiring it to play this game and see the PlayStation 2 charm of it, because they're eventually working on a remake of SpongeBob SquarePants Battle of Bikini Bottom called the rehydrated version for the newer console. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how the game will look in the newer version compared to the original. I'm definitely looking forward to it myself. Like SpongeBob would say, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready to get the new game. Thank you for watching my game review on SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for the Bikini Bottom on the PlayStation 2. In case you haven't done so already, don't forget to click subscribe, leave a like on this video, and share this video with your friends so that you could stay in the loop for new Art and Vital Gamer videos. Till then, I wish you all a fun, gamer-filled day. Thank you.